You are tuned into a special player spotlight interview on the CS Podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of the CS Podcast presented by the NUC NFL Draft Bible, bringing you the names that you need to know first since 2002. Visit NFLDraftBible.com. I'm your guys' host, Chris Shanafelt, and joining the show now for a player spotlight interview is 2016 NFL Draft prospect Tanner Agen, the defensive tackle out of Division II's Michigan Tech University. And Tanner, we appreciate you taking some time this evening. Now, I know a couple of weeks ago you were down in Virginia Beach for the Dream Bowl. Can you just talk about that experience and what it was like to showcase your talent in front of some pro scouts?
Yeah, it was a great experience to get the invite to go down there. Coming out of Michigan Tech, not a lot of people even know where it is. Up in the UP, but I was able to perform well at the Combine and open some eyes during practice and during the game as well.
Really did, and you know what, something that I really like about the Dream Bowl, besides the fact that all the guys are coming from smaller schools, smaller programs, is that they do hold a Combine before the game itself, and there were quite a few guys that stood out from the Combine, including yourself, Tanner. You measured in at 6'2", 300 pounds, and you benched 225 pounds 40 times. Rarely do we see 40 reps. Heading in, did you know that you would hit 225 pounds 40 times? I mean, was that something that you were working on leading into the Combine?
Well, in fall when we came to camp, I hit it 38 times, and I was training quite a bit after the season was over. And, that Tuesday before we got out there, I kind of tested it out, and I only hit it for 30, so I was kind of weary on what I was going to get come test time. But, I guess the adrenaline got me going a little bit to be able to pump out 40.
Yeah, without a doubt. 40 reps of 225 pounds, just insane. And, if I'm not mistaken, I was able to watch the game live, and you did make some noise in the backfield quite a bit during the game, and you were even able to get some extra time on the field as the game was pushed to double overtime. Talk about the small school talent that was represented at the Dream Bowl and how you felt you performed individually in the game.
I mean, there's a lot of talented guys. Speaking for our D-line myself, Brandon Hutchison, who played alongside me throughout my years of Tech, along with, Miles Grooms, Mike Mentor, Austin Blair, and Skylar Suggs. We all, I think we all performed well, and the talent down there was, even though they haven't been seen, or maybe they have, but it was a great opportunity for us to show our skills at a big stage.
Again, he's Tanner Agen, the defensive tackle out of Michigan Tech University, coming off of a nice week down at the Dream Bowl. Joining me here on the CS Podcast presented by the NUC NFL Draft Bible. And Tanner, looking at what you're able to do at Michigan Tech, you've been a starter and really a staple on that defensive line since 2013, and this past season as a senior, you registered 62 tackles, 12.5 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles, all career highs. And I see that you upped your production each and every season, which is something that you really do like to see. How would you describe your overall experience at Michigan Tech suiting up for the Huskies?
Well, my first year I came in as a defensive end, and we redshirted as a lot of kids usually do. The next year, I kind of put on a little bit more weight, but I stayed at defensive end where I saw limited playing time here and there because we had duds that were still at defensive end playing. And then the following year, I made the transition during spring ball to go to defensive tackles, considering I had the strength for it. and I made it through 6 weeks of the season healthy, but I managed to break my right fibula, which was kind of it traumatized the muscle a little bit, where I wasn't able to finish the rest of the season, where I finished that game. Then my season was cut short. Doctor said it would heal on its own, which it didn't, and we had to go in, put a plate in, and continue the process of trying to get it to heal. Then the following year, my junior year, we kind of ran into the same issue. I broke my right fibula again, just getting rolled up on during a play in the half of the sixth game, and it was just a simple fracture beneath the plate because it formed a little weak point. However, I was able to finish the season playing 4 games, and our playoff game, which was our best year, going 9-2. And this past year, we went 7-3. I maintained good health throughout the year, and had one of my best seasons.
Yeah, I think I'll tell you straight up, I didn't know that you ran into those injuries those first few years, or your sophomore and junior year at Michigan Tech. But I gotta think it was it felt pretty good to finish this past season, your senior year. I'm not gonna say injury free because I gotta think you put your body through quite a bit throughout the season. Again, at any level of college football. But without any major injuries, I gotta think it was pretty nice to finish the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, what would you say is your biggest strength as a defensive tackle, Tanner? And what would you say is something that you feel that you could still work on to get better at? I mean, when we turn on your tape, what is something positively that's going to stand out, and maybe something not necessarily negatively, but something that, again, that you feel that you could still work on to get better at?
Well, I would say that my strength is obviously my upper body strength, and along with that is play recognition, where based on the film and based on the formation, you can kind of determine what the plays they run, and break it down by formation, by is it going to be power, is it going to be a zone read, where's the back located, stuff like that. And when I know the play and I know where everything's going, it's easier to read my guy and play the technique that I'm supposed to play, whether I can penetrate the gap or, it's all based on the defensive play also that we call. And I would say my weakness would be I believe I tend to kind of play down to the competition sometimes. Where, on film, sometimes it just wouldn't look like how I normally play. It shows, it kind of showed bursts of, what I could have been consistently, but then, just not being as consistent I should have been.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, obviously, it'll be a big step for any collegiate athlete to, play in the professional level, whether you're playing at the FBS level or D2 like yourself or D3 NAIA. Now they do say that making the transition from the offensive and defensive line positions from the college game to the pros is always the toughest. Would you agree with that? And why do you think that is?
Well, you're playing against the best of the best of, offensive linemen who have been in the league and, who's just starting. And, obviously technique is going to be the biggest thing that, I need to learn and get down, because in the NFL I feel that the technique is top notch. And if you're not having good technique, you're not going to be able to perform at the best level possible.
Yeah, and obviously technique is huge. You mentioned the upper body strength that you have and the upper body strength that you have to have in order to have success, on the offensive and defensive line. But so much of that is also technique. again, on the offensive and defensive line. And, Tanner, I got to think that it's every collegiate athlete's dream to get an opportunity to play at the next level. No matter what level of college football you play, I have to think that's always the dream. But did you ever think that you would be this close to achieving that dream? Obviously, we're not there yet. But just to reach the point where you have 4 years of college ball under your belt, you just participated in the Dream Bowl. When did you realize that you felt that you had what it takes to play at the professional level, and that you were going to give this whole draft process a shot?
I mean, it's kind of surreal looking back at everything and how everyone has helped you along the way, and I couldn't be grateful enough for where I am right now, and I feel that I knew that I could play at the next level was by, when I went down to the Dream Bowl and playing against, other top-notch athletes, where I'm not playing against other people in my conference. I'm playing against the best people along D2 and NAIA, where, I don't have an opportunity to play down the competition, where I can just perform at my best and try to make a name for myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know what? You mentioned the conference. You do play in a pretty tough conference. Michigan Tech plays in a pretty tough conference in the GLIAC. You've gone up against and seen some great talent in that conference. Some of the names that come to mind are obviously Jeff Janis of Saginaw Valley State, who of course is on the Packers. Had just a huge game for the Packers a couple of weeks ago in the playoffs against the Cardinals. Ferris State, they have a few guys that are also getting ready for the NFL draft, including quarterback Jason Vanderlaan and defensive lineman Justin Zimmer. And then, of course, you also have Matt Judon out of Grand Valley, which leads me to my next question. Obviously, some of those guys are fellow defensive linemen, and some are from the offensive side of the ball. But throughout your time playing college ball in that tough conference at the Division II level, who would you say is the best single player that you've had to play against? I mean, maybe it's one of those guys, maybe it's not. But does anybody specific stand out?
Obviously, the guys over at Ferris State, they're tremendous athletes. Zimmer and Vanderlaan and Judon put up great numbers this year. But another guy that I would say the best offensive lineman that I've played against, we're both from Grand Valley. My sophomore year was Armstrong. He was a center there, All-American kid. And then Walsh, he was an offensive guard this year. Probably one of the best offensive linemen that I played against.
All right, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe Grand Valley made a nice run in the playoffs. If I'm not mistaken, I believe they got stopped right before the championship game. What would you say is the most memorable play that you've made throughout your time at Michigan Tech, Tanner? I mean, looking back 5-10 years from now, what will be the first play that pops into your mind?
My first play, I would think, would be actually closest to my last, where we were playing I can't remember who we were playing right now, but we were in overtime, and we were they were about to score, and we were just playing. I was pursuing the ball, and I managed to strip it out, kind of to basically end overtime. We would get the ball, and all we would need is a field goal, and kind of didn't turn out that way, where the refs didn't think it was a fumble when it was clear as day. But, that would be probably one of my most memorable ones. But if people would like, if people bring up different plays, and, it would definitely get my blood flowing 10 years from now.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, he is the defensive tackle, Tanner Agen out of Michigan Tech, joining me here on the CS podcast, presented by the NUC NFL Draft Bible as he gets set for the 2016 NFL Draft. And Tanner, minus the Dream Bowl, what have you been doing throughout the last few months since your season wrapped up back in November?
Well, when we wrapped up, I took a couple, days off, and while I was sore, but I just had, if I was going to achieve my dream, I had to get back at it, and we, did a baseline test of where I was at, testing wise for combines, and I just continued to go to work. I went home over winter break, worked out down there. My girlfriend and myself were able to go out to Vegas and see her family for basically a Christmas gift, and went out to Disneyland and had a good time there. But I still had to work out, so I got my workouts in there, and then I had a week to get ready for the Dream Bowl, which I did, and drove down to Virginia Beach, and now that that's over, I'm just back to the drawing board, training again.
Yeah, nice. I mean, sounds like you've certainly kept yourself busy, and like you said, you're continuing to work for that dream to be achieved. Now, you mentioned that throughout all this training, you're obviously training for a combine. Can you expand on that a little bit? I mean, do you have any idea which combine you'll be participating in? Any idea? Any information on any pro days or anything like that?
Right now I'm registered for the regional combine in Minnesota. However, it'd be great to get the invite to go to Indy for the national combine. However, if that's not the case, I'm going to do my best in Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm. And I got to ask you, man, what are your I'm sorry, go ahead.
But as of pro days, right now the plan would probably be go down to Grand Valley.
Okay. All right, and that would be just fine. Obviously, again, Matt Judon, probably their top prospect. I know he was supposed to participate in the East-West Shrine game, was held out, though, with some type of injury. Not really sure what it was, but all right, sounds great. So the Minneapolis Regional Combine and Grand Valley's Pro Day is what it sounds like we'll be planning for. And I got to ask, what are your goals for your Pro Day? I mean, it's going to be, I got to think it's going to be pretty tough to, to hit that 40 mark of 225 again.
Well, I definitely think I will again, if not hit more.
Yeah.
But what my goal is to definitely increase my speed and agility, tests like that. So that's what I'm going to be working on quite a bit.
Yeah, I'll definitely be keeping a lookout for those numbers, and certainly hope we keep in touch. Now, we're pretty much going to wrap up this interview with something that I like to call the 2-minute drill. And some of these questions will be football related, and some will just be random questions about anything. Tanner, are you ready to knock some of these out?
All right, here we go.
All right, we'll start off with, what is your favorite TV show and movie?
Favorite TV show would probably be Seinfeld, and my favorite movie, definitely either Pain and Gain or The Other Guys.
Okay. All right, and here's a question, probably one of my favorite questions to ask to these draft prospects I interview every day, every week, every year, and that is, who do you model your game after?
I'd like to say, J.J. Watt. I would love to, although he plays on the end sometimes, the inside sometimes, I would love to be, at that position someday, moving all over the line, giving the offensive linemen headaches, and, how he was J.J. SWAT shows that he spends a lot of time in the film room, and that's what I want to be, compared to.
And yeah, you should always want to reach for the best. Obviously, J.J. Watt is, I don't think there's any doubt that he is the top defensive lineman in the National Football League today. Next question, if you had a plane ticket to travel anywhere you wanted, where would you be going?
Probably somewhere in the Caribbean islands.
Okay. All right. Hey, and you know what? This time of the year, I know you guys have some rough weather out there, as we do here in Chicago. Although this winter hasn't been too rough, at least for us just yet. But it cannot go wrong with that. That is for sure. Now, let's say you get to go one-on-one with any offensive lineman currently playing in the NFL. Who would that be?
I would like to go after Josh Sitton. Every once in a while, maybe TJ Lang, somewhere on the inside there.
Okay. All right. Sounds great. And obviously, myself growing up as a Chicago Bears fan, I definitely appreciate that. Would love to see that. A few more questions for you, and then I'll let you go. Favorite restaurant? I got to know, as a defensive lineman, man, if you had, one last meal, where are you going to be heading to?
I'm going to go to my hometown in Kaukauna at the Prime Steer to get a nice big steak. Nice.
All right, and final question. Let's say we got all 32 NFL general managers lined up and they're listening to this very interview, Tanner. Why should they want the defensive tackle out of Michigan Tech, Tanner Agen, a part of their team?
I've been underrated and overlooked all my life, and, I feel if given the opportunity, I will rise above expectations, and I'm willing to put in the work throughout my career, if not all the way through. I'm just willing to work my ass off to get there.
Yeah, and you know what? That's something that it sounds as if you have that chip on your shoulder. And I think that most, if not all, small school guys have that, and I think they need to have that extra fuel added to the fire in order to get to where they want. And it certainly sounds like you have that, Tanner. And, I really do appreciate you taking some time tonight. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. And congratulations on all of your success, not only at Michigan Tech, but a couple of weeks ago down at the Dream Bowl as well. You made a lot of noise. And, again, we're wishing you all the best as you get set for the 2016 NFL Draft, man.
Thanks again. I appreciate it.